On November 29th, 1981, Hollywood woke up to a tragedy shrouded in mystery: the death of actress Natalie Wood. More than 40 years later, her final night remains one of Hollywood's most unsettling, unsolved stories. What really happened to one of the brightest stars of her generation? Natalie Wood wasn't just an actress, she was a Hollywood phenomenon. From her breakout role in Miracle on 34th Street as a child, she captivated audiences. She seamlessly transitioned from a beloved child star into a serious, dramatic actress, starring in classics like Rebel Without a Cause, alongside James Dean in the iconic musical West Side Story. Her talent earned her 3 Oscar nominations before she was even 25. Natalie became one of the most recognizable and beloved faces of the 20th century. Her life played out in the public eye, from her dazzling film career to her high-profile romances. She was a true Hollywood legend, a cultural icon whose influence is still felt today. But it was her personal life, particularly her passionate and twice-married relationship with actor Robert Wagner, that often made headlines, setting the stage for the tragic events to come. It was Thanksgiving weekend, 1981, a seemingly perfect holiday getaway. Natalie Wood, her husband, Robert Wagner, her co-star Christopher Walken, and the yacht's captain, Dennis Davern, set sail on the Splendour. The couple's 60-foot yacht, they were anchored off Catalina Island, a beautiful but isolated spot off the coast of Southern California. On the surface, it was a gathering of friends enjoying a long weekend. But beneath the calm waters, tensions were simmering. Their relationships were complicated. Natalie and Wagner had a famously passionate but turbulent marriage. They had first married as young stars in the 50s, divorced, and then remarried in 1972, drawn back together by a connection they couldn't deny. But friends said their relationship was a roller coaster of intense love and explosive arguments. Walken, who was co-starring with Natalie in the film Brainstorm at the time, was a guest on the yacht. His presence reportedly added a layer of professional jealousy and personal tension to an already strained atmosphere. Wagner later admitted in his memoir that he felt jealous of the bond between Natalie and Walken. For people on a boat, isolated from the world. One night and a sea of endless questions that would soon follow. On the evening of November 28th, the group had dinner at a restaurant on the island before returning to the Splendour. Witnesses at the restaurant and on nearby boats later reported hearing loud arguing and shouting coming from the yacht late into the night. What exactly was said and what happened after the shouting stopped remains the central mystery. The official story pieced together later was that the arguments were about Natalie's career and her dedication to it, which Wagner felt was pulling her away from her family. But what unfolded in the final hours of her life is a puzzle with missing pieces. By the early morning of November 29th, Robert Wagner went to check on his wife and found that she was gone. The small inflatable dinghy, named Valiant, was also missing. An immediate search was launched. For hours, the Coast Guard scoured the dark, cold waters around the island. Then, at 7:44 a.m., a helicopter spotted something floating about a mile away from the yacht. It was Natalie Wood. Her body was found face down in the ocean, wearing only a flannel nightgown, a pair of wool socks, and a red down jacket. The discovery sent shockwaves through Hollywood and around the world. The bright star was gone, and the circumstances were deeply disturbing. The initial investigation conducted by the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department moved quickly. The coroner's verdict was accidental drowning. The official theory was that Natalie, bothered by the sound of the small dinghy banging against the side of the Splendour, went to go retie it. Authorities believed that in the process, she must have slipped on the swim step, hit her head, and fallen unconscious into the water. Wagner supported this theory, suggesting that Natalie's lifelong fear of dark water would have never allowed her to take the dinghy out on her own at night. For many, this explanation seemed plausible enough. It was a tragic accident, a heartbreaking end to a beautiful life. But for others, this story just didn't add up. It left too many unanswered questions and felt too neat, too simple for such a complex situation. The skepticism started almost immediately, and would only grow stronger over the years. Years went. The doubts never faded. Then, in 2011, a bombshell dropped. The case was officially reopened. The catalyst was the yacht's captain, Dennis Davern, who came forward with a new story. one that dramatically contradicted his original testimony. He claimed that he had initially lied to investigators to protect Robert Wagner. Davern now alleged that Wagner and Wood had a vicious, explosive argument right at the back of the boat just moments before she disappeared. He described a fight fueled by jealousy over Christopher Walken, which escalated to the point of Wagner smashing a wine bottle and screaming at his wife. This new information forced investigators to re-examine all the evidence. They looked again at the autopsy report, which had noted multiple bruises on Natalie's arms, wrist, and a scratch on her neck. Were these injuries consistent with a simple fall, or did they suggest something more sinister? The conflicting stories from the night, the lack of a clear timeline, and the physical evidence on her body all pointed to a far more complicated scenario. In 2012, the Los Angeles County Coroner's Office officially changed the cause of death. It was no longer accidental drowning. It was changed to drowning and other undetermined factors, a stunning admission that after 3 decades, they still couldn't say for sure how she ended up in the water. 6 years later, in 2018, the investigation took another turn when Robert Wagner was officially named a person of interest in his wife's death. However, he has never been charged with any crime and has always maintained his innocence. So, after all these years, what are the prevailing theories? There are really 3 main possibilities that people still debate today. The first is the original theory. It was a tragic accident. Natalie, a meticulous person, was annoyed by the dinghy, tried to secure it, slipped, and drowned. This remains the simplest explanation. The second theory is that she was trying to leave. After the heated argument with Wagner, she may have decided to take the dinghy and go to shore, either to get away for the night or to leave for good. In her emotional state, and given her fear of the water, she might have slipped and fallen while trying to board the dinghy alone. The third, and most troubling theory, is that foul play was involved. This theory suggests that the argument with Wagner turned physical, and she was either pushed or incapacitated in some way before ending up in the water. The bruises on her body are often cited as the primary evidence for this scenario. To this day, no one knows exactly what happened to Natalie Wood on that cold November night. The only other people who were there have given conflicting accounts or have remained silent. It's a story with no reliable narrator. Her death remains one of Hollywood's most haunting and enduring mysteries, a dark chapter in the history of tin. Perhaps it's a puzzle we may never truly solve, leaving us only to remember the incredible life she lived and wonder about the night it was cut so tragically short. Thanks for watching.